So we're in a building on the church grounds. It's a church-owned building. It's used by Junior Church for the preschool groups on a Sunday, and then Monday to Friday it is a preschool. So we're preschool all week. We're fully set up as a preschool building. We are open for all children from age 2 until they start school. We have a real mix of families. So we have some church families, we have some children that come from other churches, and we have children from no faith, and we also have children from other faiths. So one of our aims really is to be as welcoming and inclusive to anybody who wants to use the preschool. The preschool runs as a charity, and we're part of the same charity registration as the church. And we then have a preschool committee, which is a group of people who are registered with Ofsted, and they act as trustees for the preschool. So they're responsible for making sure that preschool is compliant with all the legal and statutory requirements, and they meet about once a month and make most of the major decisions for the preschool.
The origins of preschool can be traced back to 1980, when what was then called a creche was organised in church on Sundays, only during the sermon. The creche then morphed into a playgroup following the 1989 Children's Act, which allowed us to then grow and have more qualified supervision. It required that the supervisor be qualified, and we were externally accountable at that point. Things moved forward in 1996 under new legislation, the Nursery Education Vouchers Scheme, which allowed us to convert the playgroup into a preschool, and the PCC extended the work in the children's area and opened this preschool with qualified staff, paid manager, and on a cost covering basis, so that we charge fees, we receive income from the county. It's now a freestanding activity. We're fully accountable to Ofsted. We meet all the Ofsted requirements, and in recent years we've been classed as outstanding by Ofsted, which we're very pleased about.
As an Ofsted registered preschool, we're funded in the same way that any other preschool would be, and that is through government early education funding and through parent fees. One of the really unique things about being able to run a preschool as part of a church is that we have a great opportunity to reach a lot of families and to be really involved with them, often for several years if we've got families that have more than one children. So they stay with us for a long time, and we're able to see them almost daily, and it comes at very little cost to the church. So we fund our own staff salaries and staff training, we fund our own resources, we pay for our own cleaner. Most of the day-to-day running costs of preschool comes from the government funding and parent fees.
So here at St Thomas's, we are sharing God's love from the heart of the city, and within the Children and Families ministry, we're sharing God's love with his children, and that means children of all ages. So here at preschool, the children are just given such strong foundations emotionally, educationally, and particularly spiritually, as they're starting in those early years here in this amazing nurturing environment. What I love about preschool is that every child is welcome, no matter where they come from or what they need, and that the staff give amazing care to the whole family, not just the child who they're working with, but actually the families as a whole are loved and valued and just have that care of God given to them every single day.
In terms of the mission and the ministry of St Thomas's Church, the preschool gives a really intensive engagement with children, young children. But around that, we get to invite other children to be involved in the life of our church through our Children and Families ministry. And so we have a number of other families that come along to church. And in addition to that, we're looking to develop, and we are starting to develop, a family life centre, which is investing more in supporting parents and carers to equip them to parent and raise their children. And so we're in a sense trying to create a comprehensive approach to working with children and families, of which the preschool gives that most intensive engagement with these young families.
Preschool's a really good opportunity to reach those children who don't come to anything else that the church offers. We know that most children under 5 are not living in Christian families, they're not brought to church on a Sunday, but most of those children will go to preschool. And so it's a really good opportunity for church to come to them and to be church for those children who aren't coming to anything else that the church is offering.
In some ways, there is a typical day. We have a routine and a rhythm, so there's always indoor and outdoor play, and obviously snack and lunch break that up, and that just helps the children know sort of what's coming, and it helps them be able to regulate their emotions in response to being away from parents and at home, and helps it feel like a familiar environment here. But on the other hand, of course, they're aged 2 to 4, there is no typical day. And part of that is to do with the decisions that we've made about how we teach. So our Christian ethos is very much about how we can help these children develop spiritually and holistically, and trying to see the child as a whole. So our starting priority is always, what does this child need right at this moment? So there are explicitly Christian things that you will see. You will see us reading Bibles with the children and singing prayers, and following different patterns of a Christian year. But there are lots of decisions that are perhaps invisible and intangible that we've made because we are Christian, and that underpins our curriculum decisions and our pedagogies of how and why we're teaching what we are teaching. And they all come from the viewpoint of what supports the children best.
So we do that in lots of different ways, and part of that is the church being part of preschool and coming in, and part of that is inviting the preschool families into what else is happening in the church. So here in preschool, we have families from church with their own children coming here, which is brilliant, and means that those children are benefiting from what happens here at preschool, but also that families as a whole are able to get to know each other as they're part of the same place. And then over the years, we've had different people from the church have been on staff here and working directly with the children, but we've also had people volunteering in lots of different ways. So at the moment, we have some people volunteering with some one-to-one support with children who need that extra bit of support, or maybe coming in to help the staff to play with the children. And as well as that, as children and families pastor, I get to come in and share Bible stories and do singing, and I get to know the children one-to-one themselves through doing that, which is just fantastic. And then as well as that, we're inviting families at preschool to be part of what else happens at church. A little bit of that is Sundays, but actually Sundays is just a really small part of the story. So we have a toddler group, we're just establishing our family life centre, and there's a PEEP group, which is really helping parents to be learning how to support their children and do things with their children at home. So there's a lot of links between those different groups. But we also find over the years that families will come back to stuff as they hear about things. So our holiday club, our light party, things like our summer fun day when we get a bouncy castle in the church building and a lot of free cake. And what we find is actually because of those personal positive experiences that people have had through the preschool, they're really likely to come along if they see something publicised or they get an invitation to other things we're doing later on. But really all of it is about having genuine relationships and making sure people know that you truly care about them. So Lancaster's not a massive place. When I'm in town, I often see families who I first met in preschool maybe 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And some of those families might be connected to St Thomas's on a Sunday or through some midweek groups. Some might be part of other local churches. And some may have no church involvement at all at that time. All of them will come and chat to me because they know that I care about them. And I do think just that genuine relationship can last for years and years, and who knows where it might lead.
The church owns the building that we're in. The church covers the utilities and some of the running costs. But the activities of preschool, we generate our own income through fees and from money from the county. But church also supports us in terms of prayerfully supporting what we do, in terms of joining up the dots of preschool provision between church, preschool and the emerging family life centre. It also supports us in terms of having a pool of volunteers that we can call on if we need more staff capacity. Preschool is part of St Thomas's, it's an integral part, and we're very proud of that.
So really seeing the way that children have been able to thrive in this environment with the value and the nurture they're given as God's children from the amazing staff team. So my older daughter started here at the age of 3, really quite shy in a bigger group, needing some adult support to have more confidence. And when she left to go to school a year and a half later, just the difference in her was amazing, and she had such a strong foundation as she started at primary. And I know that there are so many children who have their own story like that from the care they've been given here.
For me, I think the most exciting thing is knowing that children are coming here and having a really positive experience. Recently, a parent said to me, she has 2 children. One had just been through preschool and was now at school, and she has a younger child who was just about to start preschool, and she was telling the younger child that they were just about to start preschool, and the older child overheard and said, "Oh my goodness, you're going to have the best life." And I just thought that was lovely to know that we've got an opportunity here to provide an environment where children come and feel like they're living their best life, they're living life in all its fullness. That is really exciting to be able to have the opportunity to do that. One of the main challenges, especially when you're first starting out, is just getting your head around all the legal requirements that you need to be aware of. You need to have a committee if you're going to run as a charity, so you need a good team of people who have the right skills to be able to run the preschool. You need a minimum of 3 on your committee, someone to act as chair, treasurer and secretary, and that's in addition to your preschool manager. And we also have a number of other people on our committee who we have asked to join because they've got skills or special interest in early years. When you're recruiting staff, you need to make sure that the staff have got the right level of qualifications. There's DBS checks that you need to do for all your staff. You're going to want to collect references and provide safeguarding training for all your staff so that you know that you're creating a really safe environment for the children, and so that you're compliant with all the safeguarding and welfare requirements of the early years foundation stage. So first of all, I'd say research your local market and see if there is a need for more early years provision. If there is, then I would start thinking about what you could provide that doesn't already exist. So is there a need for a term time only setting? Is there a need for setting that takes babies or just older children? Have a think about where the gap is in your market and what you can provide. If there is a need, then I would have a think about your vision and what it is that you're hoping to achieve through the preschool and who it is that you're wanting to reach. And then if you've got people with the right skills and the right vision, then I think it's a really exciting thing to do. It's a really great opportunity to make contact with lots of families in your local area. At first it might seem like a daunting prospect, but there are always people that you can go to for support and advice, and I would suggest finding out who those people are and using them.
A preschool is incredibly exciting, it's incredibly effective, it's also complex as well. And so in a sense, for anybody considering getting involved in early years support and education like this, I guess our advice would be come and talk to us and find out how it's working here, and we'd love to support you in that.